Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. This is Jennifer Jennings, your intuitive astrologer here in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining me once again as we go through Christ's birth chart. I started with house number 12, and now I've gone through the zodiac through the ninth house. We just have the 10th and the 11th house left. And so here in the ninth house of Christ, which is, our story too, the Plutonian teacher feeds the spirit here in this ninth house with Pluto and Pallas. And so Jupiter rules this ninth house. Jupiter is all about higher learning, belief systems, distant travel, religion. This is all about, the different philosophies of different religions and the higher meanings of life, higher meanings of the universe. This is where Pluto would bring intense study to Christ about religions and mythologies. And here in this house, you would have much knowledge. This is where if you've got any knowledge that's going on, your ninth house is going to show it. So he could have been dogmatic in his personal philosophies, being obsessed with travel, with religion, which we know he was, powerful leadership, which we know he was a powerful leader. I mean, we're still talking about him. You know what I'm saying? He is still influencing our being, our energy here in this realm. And so here in the house of, in the sign of Libra, we have to understand that balance, this justice, that he wanted to use this powerful leadership to transform. He would have made the best attorney, guys. Like he was the defender of truth, defender of justice, defender of the people, is because the spirit of truth lives within us all and it speaks to us all. As long as we can listen and we can differentiate, I mean, there's a great communion that can be had. Our energies are so powerful, and Christ knew this. And so he was able to use this house and transform leaderships, transform beliefs, transform people's philosophies. And he was able to get them to see things in another point of view. Um, Traveling a long distance, going to different countries, seeking to understand the different philosophies is seen here. And because Pluto was in retrograde, there is a past. There's a past that he teaches. And that's what he's doing with us, is he's teaching us about the past. This house is also, just major transformation with death. The balancing of the scales is what Christ is really showing us, especially right now with tensions being so high worldwide. His leadership, we are told, and then when we test it out, we can see that it's trusted. It's the leadership that can be trusted because he is the people's advocate, the true healer. This is the true healer of mankind, and he shows us the way to heal ourselves and to heal one another with this higher consciousness that he is definitely gifted with in this ninth house. And so Pallas represents this wisdom, this intellectual pursuit that Christ has. And Pallas is a psychic, a very psychic type of energy. It can bring you such wake up calls, sudden shocks, sudden changes. You can have this disruptive, destructive type of energy because you're not real sure what to do with the information, the psychic information that comes in. So with Jesus having Pluto and Pallas here in the ninth house, it is definitely going to teach him how to cultivate this intelligence, this intuition into the highest form that he can. And he is going to be able to have the ability to relate to people in a more normal way instead of a not so normal way. But he would be able to relate to people with logic, with reasoning, and where you couldn't even give him a rebuttal because he was speaking such truth. And so that would be something that could be seen as, that inability to relate in a normal type of way, because being psychic is definitely something that you have to, seek your own tribe that can understand such, communion, because in each person's journey, we have the ability even though our birth chart will give us certain aspects that we can work with, but we all have the ability to transform these energies into the highest forms. And so that's the magnetic field that we can, cultivate as, but we have to understand and learn energy. And that's just something that we don't have in our schools. And so the justice system does keep us dumbed down. It prevents us from being able to truly, share the higher philosophies. Um, and so Jesus would have definitely been that attorney here who would have been eager to show people how to have this higher consciousness, how to understand the different world philosophies and bring the truth to the different philosophies and show the vision of the future and how we could sustain by loving one another. As long as we were loving one another, the human race, the extinction event could prolong itself as above, so below, and as within, without, and with such, and just such warring and such superiority type of mentality. This is what has led man down in the abyss, and he continues to be a slave to these program systems that Jesus was trying to teach other people another way to think, and how to look after your brother and sister, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what color, no matter what philosophy that they had, no matter what they had done, no matter how many people they had slept with. This is about forgiving too, and forgiving while this is taking place is very hard to do. It's very hard to lose your children, lose your husband, lose everything that you've worked for and be left with nothing, nothing. But in the material sense, that is, such failure. But in the spiritual sense, that's freedom. And it does give us freedom to detach, because that is what Jesus shows, is that in order to understand the way, you definitely have to detach from the worldly views that are messed up, that are not true, that are wrong in so many ways, no matter how you justify it. No matter how you justify the fact that there are evil people in the world, and we have got to learn how to forgive at the same time that we are calling attention to the injustice. We can't call for them to be hung on the cross. What we need to be able to do is to understand how we got here. Look at the patterns and really understand how we got here. And so, feeding the spirit, Jesus was feeding not just his spirit, but other people's spirits. And in the Greek, Pluto is from this classical mythology who relates back to the underworld, or as the Greek god Hades. This energy brings permanent transformation. It can bring death. And death here would have been something that Jesus would have taught, because this is the teaching house. What would he have really, really understood and known? He definitely would have understood justice. He would have understood religion and philosophies and mythologies. He would have understood the truth about the universe, about where we go when we die off from this form, from this meat ship. Where is it that we go to? What happens? And that is something that he would have been a transforming teacher with. And he would have had the insight that Pallas and Pluto was given him in this house. And so the next video that I'm going to bring to you guys is going to be a lot more intense. It's going to be really, really intense, because this 10th house is going to have to do with the government, the authority figures. It's going to have to do with his midheaven, with Hades, with his north node, and with Neptune. And this is all in Scorpio. And so Scorpio is the zodiac healer. It is definitely a house that you will want to tune into. And so until next time, be safe, guys, and peace.